Jets Nation, welcome back to the Phil and Vince podcast. Phil out there on the West Coast, Vin Man here at the East Coast. Jets fans for 55 years. We had a great debate. We decided to call our podcast Jets 55.
Yeah,
it was creative. It took weeks to decide. How does it sound, Phil? Sounds pretty good.
It took 55 years to figure that one out. No, but listen. In a couple of days, it's going to be 56. But I tell you, we'll leave it alone. We'll just call it Jets 55.
I don't want to get confused, bud. I don't want to get confused. Jets 55 forever.
There you got it. All right, cool.
Got to start. Listen, we all know where we are, and I'm going to start us off right now. To me, Zach, I'm not a Zach basher. I'm not a Zach. I don't want to insult the kid, be mean. I'll be frank with you. After the Pittsburgh game, what he did in the first quarter, I was ready to start the Zach Wilson fan club. All right. He did 2 drives. He looked good. He stayed in the pocket. Everything was nice. Just not sustainable. There's nothing new out there. Jets fans know this. But what I want to bring up that is so frustrating with this whole year, what's been going on, is that when he went down, and Salah and everybody who I, by the way, love the coach, love the GM, love the organization, love the scouts, even though we'll be discussing later the problem of picking Zach at number 2. But everything was like, well, now he's out, he's injured, he's watching Mike White moving the team. You know, he's learning things. He's seeing when Flacco had a good game. He's learning things. You know, Streveler, I'm learning things. Well, folks, if we remember Phil last year, this is what he said last year.
Right.
Okay. When Mike White came in, Zach is sitting back. He's learning. Well, you know what? He's not learning. It's not sustainable. And I'm tired. And actually, they started turning it around, but I'm tired of these athletes saying the Jets don't handle him right. Well, when Mike White goes in, why is the running game better? Why is the offensive line better? And let's remember last year, what is the name I want to bring up? Josh Johnson. Who is Josh Johnson? A journeyman. He came in last year. Phil, what did he do, buddy? When he came in, he lit Jets fans. He lit it up. He lit it up. So Mike White comes in, lights it up. Josh Johnson comes in, lights it up. And here's the last straw. We're watching Zach not getting it done. And I have another buddy of mine we're texting. Well, it's a team game. It's a team game. He's critical of the offensive line, which I understand. And what happens? In one quarter, Streveler gets 145 between running and passing. And I text back my friend. I said, hey, bud, looks like that offensive line is playing a little better.
Listen, okay. So that what your point is obviously true. When that guy came in, when he came in, Streveler, there was a spark. It was obvious that you had 2 different pathways with this team. Everybody was awakened. There was something there that was not there all the way through the game. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about Zach, but it's really, to me, a question of, is it regression or stagnation, and is it due to his attitude or his ability or both? So again, he's regressed, but it's also, he was never that far along. So he's just stagnated. The guy hasn't arrived. And it's like you just said, how long are we going to wait when these other guys have been here? Doesn't take much, and they just plug and play and they're good to go. Think of it this way, this game. Okay, we don't have to go too much into this game. It's a no-brainer. They had 10 possessions in the whole game, right? The first one was a field goal. And here's the rest of them. 5 punts, a pick, 2 turnovers on downs, and a lost fumble. Now, here's the problem, though. The defense kept them in this game.
Always.
And the last drive of that first half, the last drive, right? They're down 13-3. So what does he do? Wilson gets in there. He ends the half with a 4-play drive topped off with a pick. Now, here's the bottom line for me. If you get that field goal on that last drive, okay, you have the deferment there, right? It's deferred for the second half. They're going to get the ball, right? Here we go. They get the ball after the half, and they come out. And if they come out, get a touchdown, you got a tie game. So I ask you the question, what happened in that locker room at halftime that made it so clear that they were going to stick with this guy when he just failed before the half, where he had 2 uninterrupted possessions to tie this game up or make it close, and both of them they failed miserably. They had 18 plays in the whole first half. They had the ball for 9 minutes, 24 seconds, and the whole time he looked lost. It's tough to coach somebody who is so lost like that. It's really sad. He's
I
got
think
no
maybe,
confidence,
I,
but
I
like
think
you
maybe,
said, other guys could step up and do it. It's
right.
tough.
I think maybe the delay in the change is that next quarterback up was Strevler, who hadn't been seen since he lit up the preseason, and we just said that key word, it was preseason. That might have delayed it, buddy, for bringing him out there. But obviously, hindsight, sooner the better. You know what I mean? Probably, better chances to maybe, get some more consistent drives. But, and again, when he did wind up out there, Jets Nation, we all see whether you've been a fan 55 years, whether you've been a fan 5 years or 5 months, okay? You feel it, you sense it. His time is there's no discussion anymore about what he going forward. Oh, can he get better? He is what he is. I know you're going to elaborate a little bit more on some down the road. Talk about some articles we read about.
Let's do this. Let me ask you a question out there. Real simple to any Jet fan out there. To me, it's pretty simple. We all talk about how great this defense is. So what do you do when you have a great defense? You don't get in its way. You don't limit what they're able to do. So you have to find a way. And that's the trouble with what's going on with Saleh right now. And he's a keeper. He's there for me. Keep him there 10 years. He's fantastic. It's just he's learning how to deal with this now, where they didn't need this now. All they needed now was a credible quarterback. Didn't have to be great. But what they've got is a guy right now who has developmental issues that he can't absorb the basics. So, what happens? The first was a fumble, right? They kicked the quick field goal. Great. Should have got a touchdown. Didn't get a touchdown. Okay, they got the field goal. That was a shape of things to come. We know it's coming. But the drives thereafter, right? You have a 4-play drive, a 5-play drive. What are you doing? So your defense runs off the field for 2 minutes. 2 minutes, 34 seconds, 4 plays or something. They're right back out there again. They hold them, right? Boom, boom, boom. And then Jets get the ball. 3-minute drive, 3:47, back out there again. It just busts their bubble. It does not. It's just not an environment that you're going to have any sustained success with. And the bottom line, like we said, when you put last year Johnson in, everybody was supercharged, right? It doesn't matter. They could have put Strevler in right after the half, and it would have been better. It would have been.
But even back last year, no one really knew Josh Johnson at all. But it was just here we're just talking about ability, quarterback ability, and when someone doesn't have it, how long are you going to spend to find it? So it just comes down to our BYU guy, who, like I said, I'm not here to slam. He's a young man. He's young in his tenure with NFL, but to me, it's been long enough to see what you have. Like I've been saying it for the longest time for the last couple of months. If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it swims like a duck, everybody, it's a duck. So we know what we have. We know what he is. I don't see it. I think the realization, and we keep hearing, I hope it's true, he'll be gone by the end of this season. But more importantly, it's about what's happening now and what's going to go down the pipe. But that's where we are with this kid. And you know what? You can elaborate a little bit more. Second pick. We love so much that Joe Douglas and Saleh have done. 2 years ago, pretty good. Last year, great. This last draft pick, fantastic. Everything you got to love about it. Pretty much every guy they got is really good. So, but
here's the thing:
it's the biggest position on the team.
Way about Zach,
the most important, Zach.
Distractions too. Okay, I don't really care about what he did outside or off the field, and that's been something in the background with this guy too. Forgetting about the way he handled himself in the media. I know we're talking about a guy that we know is gone. But it speaks to the fact that within our organization, the Jets make these mistakes. A lot of teams do. I read an article, I don't remember where I saw it, 30% of first-round picks make it. That's it. 31% of the last 10 years of the quarterbacks that were drafted became franchise quarterbacks. So that means 69% of the guys picked in the first round over the last 10 seasons are not franchise quarterbacks. Mark Sanchez, one of them, So the point is, it's hard to do. So what we were saying last year is exactly what happened. And again, 55 years, we know what we're talking about. I mean it. You do not pick a guy number 2. I don't care if he passes up, if he's gone. Let him go, beef up that old line, because let's face it, that's the big problem this year. If they had a better offensive line and the running game excels, then you don't have to have stellar quarterback play. But they whiffed on him, and it was way too high. But
here's the example. I know the line's getting beat up a little bit, but incredibly, when Strebler came in, the line looks a little better.
Yeah.
The running game is a little bit better. It was him. But when you look at the stats, when Zach Wilson's in the game, the running game has been atrocious.
Right.
And anybody can tell you, you don't have to be a football expert to know that what a team's doing. You're putting 8 in the box, throwing him in there because they're not afraid of him. They're not afraid. They're not concerned. He's an afterthought when it comes to him leading him consistently down the field, drive after drive. It's not going to happen. You put 8 in the box. Mike White is in there. The running game is not phenomenal, but it's better. Listen, like 4th, 5th, 6th week into the season, the Jets' offensive line, they rated every week was picked number 1. They were rated best line. Now, a lot of that, Breece Hall. Okay, right. So they weren't horrible. I think they're getting a little worn down. Tomlinson's been a shock how poorly he's been playing. Herbig, I think, is a good player. He's probably not used to playing so many games, playing a season like this. Brown has the shoulder. But again, when Mike White is in, funny thing is, when he got hit in Buffalo, it was brutal, but there's less sacks and there's a better run game.
I just think there's a pressure on LaFleur because – and, I tell you, part of what we were going to do with this segment is called Judge and Jury, right? I'm the judge, Vin's the jury, right? Well, I read an article that I loved, okay? So as the judge, my ruling is I'm going to continue reading this person's articles, right? It was from JetX by Rivka Boord. And the name of the article is, what did the New York Jets get wrong in their Zach Wilson evaluation, okay? And what this person did was went up and down the list, everything that we're talking about, the Becton failure, he should not have been, he was too big for his position. They did not draft him well, and they should have converted him. They should do something with him. What's wrong with Fant? Tomlinson, like you just said, they have no credible backup. How do you not have a credible backup? They were so sold on this guy, but he has no footwork. LaFleur was a brand new rookie offensive coach. So this article too speaks about a lot of that. And the biggest thing to me is that guy, the quarterback whisperer, Greg Knapp, passed away. That was a tragic thing. Guy got killed in a car crash. But if he's there, maybe this kid won't be without humility. Maybe he won't make those ridiculous mistakes. But most kids coming in are just thrilled to be there, and they're not, making a big presence about themselves. They want to be in the background. He thought he was the star, but all these things together, and that's what this article mentioned that. And it comes from a point of view for me that someone who's been following the team for a long time and sees what we're talking about. And the biggest takeaway is you cannot coach this way when you have little experience, when you have such obstacles with a guy like Wilson, where you need to find plays that you're going to try to create something out of nothing, right? Like the mesh, man, all this stuff that he did in college. But the one thing they don't do is they can't get him out on a bootleg and do what he does because he's not absorbing anything anymore. So the big problem is, how do you get through to this guy? The answer is you can't. You turn the page, you call it a day, and that's it. But that's you move on at this point. And
I'll tell you, this article pointed out, and I had heard about it. I never really delved into it. But when you look at him at BYU, when you look at him, that his fundamentals were so porous at BYU, and that he wound up only having one good year. Okay, he had one good year at BYU with not top level competition. Yeah, you were a little disappointed. I'm a JD fan. I'm a Salah fan. I like everything that's going on. I like the scouts. I like all about this team. It is a little disconcerting. Like, what could you have possibly seen?
And it was the COVID year, like you said. There was nobody in the stands. So the guy had very little pressure with dealing with that, if that matters. I mean, they're a guy, look at Herbert, right, on the Chargers. This guy's played in, and Lawrence. They've played massive, big games, 180,000 people and their kids. So that's not an excuse. It just doesn't hold water, man. It just doesn't.
That's what it's like. Being a Jets fan is what we talk about 55 years. History is constantly repeating itself. I always kind of like Mark Sanchez. I felt if he wasn't such a good Boy Scout and he had more guts, he could have maybe been a pretty good quarterback. I just think he was too much of a good soldier under
He was
Rex.
a good student. He was a great student.
Good student. Yeah, he came in, he had a little pin on his, did everything right. But the thing is, the guy played 17 games at USC. You got this guy, Zach. Yeah, I know he played more games. Only one good season at BYU. I mean, not a bad program, but you're not talking about a really big, consistent time program. So he has one good year, and this is what gets you kind of pumped. And there was so many flags about this young man, but you know what?
Right.
Here it is. We have him, and like you said, and like our buddy Tom said, I think it's finally happened. It's time to rip off the Band-Aid. Just take your pain, rip it off, scream, shout, ouch, and we got to move on.
The footwork is not there. And if it's not there, second year in, 20-something games in, what are you kidding me? Come on, man. That's like, you can't put a chord together if you're a guitarist. I don't know how to play a chord, It's like you have to know the basics, and he just doesn't. And I don't dislike the guy, like you said. I don't want to bash him, but I don't need his, well-being at my feet. We need to get a guy in there that's tough and ready to go. And you got a couple of them there. But you know what? You got to protect Mike White. We'll talk about that in a minute, too. Let's do something so that they keep him upright for these couple of games, and hopefully we'll see what happens. But the bottom line is, you're right. He has checked out. He has put it to bed. And I don't want to hear, I love Saleh, love him. He's a defensive coach, and we all know that. Look what he did with that defense in a year and a half. Look, they're the number 5 defense. I mean, give me a break. This guy has done some wonders there. And I guarantee you, with the weapons they have on offense, LaFleur, with an incredible quarterback, they'd be putting 24, 27 points up every game. And if they did that, they'd have 11 wins. They would. So I don't really feel that this year, no matter what happens, is so, oh my God, like it's going to, because if it gets them to the point where they've moved on from this guy and they've learned something, we're good. But the reality is they had it and they lost it. And the changes were made a little too late, which you do have to look at Saleh and see if he learns from that. So,
well, listen, I think
a quarterback that he could count on, so
listen, at least he fesses up. He's learning. He is learning.
Yeah.
That keeping those 3 timeouts in his back pocket in the game, the previous game before Jacksonville, having those 3 timeouts, like sitting on them in the Detroit game. It's like, well, when are you going to take them out of your pocket? And he finally kind of like admitted, yeah, kind of not a great decision. But I will tell you, and I will say it out there to Jets Nation, maybe I'm wrong. It's not where a guy was drafted. It's hoping to have the it factor. I solidly think Mike White has that it factor. Yeah. And you can see when he comes in the game, like almost like with Strevler, but when he comes in the game or he starts a game, the whole thing
fearless, man. He's fearless.
And everything changed this last couple of days because as judge and jury, I'm the jury man. I was ready to go after Steve Young and say guilty. Of course, and all these other guys, like, oh, what
I would have sentenced him to life,
Correct. What the Jets are doing to Zach. They're not handling Zach right. And all of a sudden, Steve Young, carefully watching the Jets-Jacksonville game, he was great. I have to eat humble pie. It was so cool to see one of these good, rare, former athletes saying, I got to eat humble pie. I got to show humility. I watched the game, and I was wrong.
You know what? He reached out to Steve Young and Kurt Warner and Drew Brees while he was on the bench the first round, Zach Wilson. So they talked to each other. And I guarantee you, Steve Young told him, do this, do this, do this. And Steve Young watched him do that. So Steve Young is like, this guy is not absorbing anything. So it has to be that.
Well, for him to turn around.
Go to the CFL and go do what you can do there, but it's over for the NFL. It's not happening, And I love you. We talk about. You're right. That's a great take on Steve Young. Good find. Good he's innocent. I love it. Now, Costello, Brian Costello's a beat guy with the Jets a long time. He's great, right? But he wrote something I loved where he goes, Mike White's not looking at himself as Jets saver. Ultimate team sport. So what he's spelling out here is how, White is coming into this game only expecting to do what he's supposed to do. He's telling everybody, I don't want to be the savior. I want to be a piece of what we're going to do as a group effort. To me, that's genius. Why? Because it motivates everybody to do their part. And if everybody does their part on this team, you get that energy. You get like when Shredler came in for that little bit there where they had the chance, something, whoa, what's going on here? Now, he's not as talented as Mike White is. Whatever. They don't have Breece Hall there. We get it. But Michael Carter, whatever, the missing pieces, guys getting open. I think this week they've been practicing. They're ready. They had that extra 4 days. They played a week ago tonight, right? This was the night, right? Thursday night. So you're looking at them now where this is it. This is the end of the line. This is where they can redefine where they're going, not just this year, but in the future. Because this kid, if he does well, you got to be nuts to not let him, to keep him. Because they're talking about, Derek Carr. They're talking about Garoppolo. Yeah. So here we go again, the carousel. I would love it for once if we have one of our own guys that was a diamond that we found, that they found in the rough, and that he ends up being the guy for the next 4 or 5 years. That would be fantastic if that would happen. And then
like when you see like a Mike White, was like I said, having that it factor, just knowing things, it's natural. The things he says, seems like our guy, BYU guy, always has to get scripted or apologize or change or flip around. I realize I said the wrong thing, this, that. It's always natural for White. Even look at Strevler. Look in the game in the fourth quarter when they're driving down the field and Corey Davis drops a pass right in his hands.
Right, that was like at the 3-yard line, 4-yard line.
He runs over to him. Yeah. It's cool. We'll get it next time. And then the next drive where Garrett Wilson had that crazy fumble where the guy does, his legs go flying up in the air because some guy blocks him and some guy's leg is up in the air.
He does it Bruce Lee and kicks it out of the sky,
It hits the football, and there's Strevler as they're going to the sidelines, like just going straight over to Garrett Wilson. Hey, it's cool, it's good. These are things that these quarterbacks, that when they come in, what, the Jets aren't handling them right? They're handling them right. They're doing the best they can.
Right.
You're right. And everything is made for the quarterback. All the rules are made for the quarterback. You can't hit him here, can't hit him there, you can't hit him late. You got to be careful. Split second, you can throw it away. You can do. Can you imagine? Listen, we were never a fan of his. We hated him. I don't want to say the word hate, but we did not like him when we were rooting for as we always the Jets years ago. But Dan Marino, can you imagine Dan Marino playing in this league with these rules now?
Oh, forget it.
I would say easily 5,000-6,000 yards a season.
Yeah,
but so it's there for Zach. So what are the Jets doing wrong? Well, at least you read an article now from Steve Young saying, you know what? You got to put it, eventually you got to put it on that person. You can't give him excuses, and he's not the guy.
And you know what, Vin?
And let's hope Mike White is, because I'm a big fan.
Based on what you just said, we're talking about, let's talk about this next game, which is everything, right? Hey, Mike White, and this week, as we said, is that defining moment. Well, you also have the defining moment of the student versus the mentor, right? You got Saleh going against Pete Carroll. So Pete knows what, Geno Smith can do. Saleh knows how Pete thinks, okay? So the chess match has begun. They're going to figure something out. But the biggest thing about Geno Smith, and we all know Geno Smith, I still don't believe he's become Tom Brady. He's good this year. God bless him. I'm happy for the guy. He went through a lot to get to this spot. But if you rough him up a little bit, if you throw him off, he will throw those picks. He will give the ball up. If you give Geno some heat, they're going to get some defensive turnovers. And that's what the Jets haven't had in a long time. Is they had that sack for the 3, but see, they needed to ramble in the end zone. We need a pick 6. We need something like that, a couple of picks, 3 picks, something to rattle this guy so they're not marching down the field. And I really think, they're going to do it. They're going to make some changes. And I really feel that their defense is going to come loaded for bear. And it's all out there for them. It's all out there for them.
Well, what do you think? I'm interested to see, because if you look at the stats, Geno Smith is one of the better quarterbacks when he's not getting blitzed. When he's not getting blitzed,
right,
his numbers are phenomenal. when he gets blitzed, he's probably one of the, if not the worst at handling that. So now here we go. The Jets, one of the few teams, they don't blitz a lot. They're not blitzing. So what do they do, bud? What are you doing? You going? You're gonna blitz? You're changing it up.
I say you do.
Now? Well, now the other thing is Lockett looks like he's back. So now you get Metcalf, Lockett. You blitz when you know you got to put one-on-one. Reed and Sauce have to be one-on-one with these guys, and they got that very good tight end.
Well, here's the thing. If they can cover them the way they've been doing it this year, Gino's going to have nobody to throw to. So, it takes care of the fact that they're not blitzing if they stay in coverage. So it's going to be, I think, a mixed bag. But if you don't put him down a couple of times on a blitz and make him nervous and put some heat on him, he's going to sit back there and he'll find the guy that gets open, even if there is great coverage, because the pass rush has not been there yet. So up front, you need Quinnen Williams to get it done. You got to get to him. Carl Lawson, you got to get to him. You got to get him down.
I need to see a little bit more from Franklin Myers.
Yeah,
come on, man. You're a big dude.
He gets the quarterback a lot off. Let's see him get there again.
I want to see it again. I want to see obviously Lawson, but interesting enough. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Might be a mixed bag. It seems like you got to do some blitzing because it just looks like, not just looks like, what it's showing is that he is atrocious when he's getting blitzed.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
The other side of the ball, Mike White must be protected. Pick up those blitzes. How about a running back staying back there and blocking? He cannot be bent in half like Milano did to him. Forget it. He'll probably have a flak jacket on anyway. But if they give this guy the time and run the ball a little bit, right, and open it up a little bit, he'll pick and he'll find that open guy. He will. But they have to score 3, 4, 5 times. I don't care if it's a couple of touchdowns and a few field goals here. You got to have sustained drives to keep the defense off the field. You have to have a balanced attack. You have to have an even time of possession. And Mike White will get his chances. I really believe that against this defense. This isn't the Bears defense. It's not the Jets defense, So I really think if you could run a little bit, keep Seattle fans guessing, Mike White will find the open guy, and I think they're going to win the game. That's my opinion.
Well, I think so. Listen, this is what we're hoping for, this is what we're praying for, but I think the reality is got the feeling, I'm not saying the defense won't play well, but this is a game where 17, 20, 21 points, maybe even 24 aren't gonna bring you to the promised land.
I have it 23-17 at the best if at the Jets. You're right.
You're in Seattle, they got that crowd, they're pretty much out of it, but long shot, so they got something to play it for. So you got to be looking at all these things, but we really need to see, and they got to finish a job. These guys, no fumbling, no dropping of passes. Come on, man, you got to get in there, and and really just complete the task. And with Mike White, they haven't been able to do it. It's not really on him. They got to
just rounded it all out to the beginning of what we started this with. Yeah. The reason that they're a little herky-jerky, that there are some fumbles, mistakes, is because all year long, they haven't had that rhythm. They haven't had that growth together with a quarterback. They haven't had that guy that what he's doing. You get open, like, boom. They don't have that. So hopefully they have this week a little bit of that with Mike White, and you see some nice over-the-middle shots that this guy Wilson was missing every week. He struggles to get to 50%, right? He was 7 of 14 in the first half with like 80 yards or something. It's ridiculous. So if Mike White just has his 70% completion rate again, throws a couple touchdowns, and they have a few field goals here and there, and that defense lights it up like they're capable of doing, it could be, 23-17 kind of a thing. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't know. But, if they start giving up points and drives and Gino throws 3 touchdowns, we're in trouble. But I get the feeling that they're going to be loaded for bear and they're going to be ready.
Well, I think also last thing we'll broach is we've talked about Salah, we've talked about JD, we've talked about the Zach situation, the draft. Okay. How do you answer to it? How do you explain it? You really can't give anything definitive, but you have to look at a flaw. Of course, the frustration for me, and this is going back, being a Jets fan for 55 years, history repeats itself. And I watched that year when we had Fitzpatrick having a good year, and it seemed like every time that I had at 2nd and 2 or 3rd and 1, always in shotgun, and not making these short distances to get a first down. And here we are with Streveler going down the field, 3rd and 1. He goes to center. We don't know what happened. Why there was the ref stopped it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, right?
It wasn't even explained. So then they come back on the field. Now Streveler, who's beating up on Jacksonville now, he actually destroyed number 2, who was acting like he's the best player on earth. On that end around, he just blew him apart.
He's a strong guy, big guy, yeah.
Big strong. 3rd and 1. I call it the Marshawn Lynch syndrome, that these coaches just can't do the basics. The line was getting a better push with Streveler. You're telling me Streveler doesn't make that on 3rd or 4th down, doesn't make that 1 yard?
We talked about this earlier in the week. Lawrence, the only touchdown in the whole game, puts his hand over. That's it. Come on.
And that comes
you don't have to get fancy sometimes.
That comes back to the Minnesota game. That comes back to the Minnesota game. Mike White is 6'5". Trevor is 6'6". Mike White 6'5". We're at the 1 yard line. You have 4 shots to what? Push Mike White forward, and he has to go like this, and it's a touchdown. And
you have to have the intuition, though, the instincts as a quarterback to understand what to do in these moments. And Mike White hopefully will develop that as he goes through it. But a lot of times quarterbacks make coaches look smart, and they do things on their own. But they haven't had that chance ever.
I'm interested to see what the floor. Of course, you got Mike White, you got your allotment of your receivers, you got your tight ends,
your running backs. You
got your running backs. Not too sure what's going on with Ty Johnson, who I'm a fan of.
Yeah, he was in there a little bit, but see what they do. Yeah,
I'm not too sure what's going on. Not saying I don't like Bam, but I'm just tired in 55 years of just these plays, just to get the most basic plays, get the first down. That Minnesota game, you score that touchdown, we're going to win that game. 1 yard.
Vin, Happy New Year. Let's see, it's New Year's Day. Let's start the new year on the right foot. Get that W, and we'll talk about the Dolphin game next. They got to get the W, and we'll see.
Well, Happy New Year to all our fans out there. Hopefully you're enjoying the podcast. And I will say this, 1 o'clock game, Fish, Pats. If the Fish win that game, man, that 4 o'clock game is going to even be more exciting. Because then the Jets, their fate is in their hands.
You got it. You're right.
Just win, man. So Happy New Year to everybody. Happy, healthy. Keep safe out there.
It's the 2023, man.
I'll lift up my glasses. Next time I'll have a cup of coffee.